Hey everybody, Sean Mayer from Expedition Extreme. We're back with yet another fridge test. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I aired a test with my own personal fridges, my Engel, my SnoMaster and my Waeco, stuck them into 220 volts straight into AC power, jammed them down to the lowest setting and see which one of these fridges cooled the quickest within 1 hour. Now, you can see the results of that show in the description below. I've linked it right here. So go into the description and click on that. Watch that before you carry on with the rest of this, because it's going to set the scene, because we do refer to that test quite a bit in this one. So, spin off of that. Firstly, you raised a number of questions. Why don't I have the other well-known brands in the 40-litre range, which is ARB. Now, I don't personally own an ARB. These are my personal fridges, and I've been testing on my own personal fridges, so nothing's sponsored, so nothing's biased whatsoever. So I reached out to one of the fans of the show, James Honey Badger, kind enough to allow us to take his fridge and put it through its paces. So his beloved ARB has now been set up against my Engel, my SnoMaster and my Waeco, and we'll be able to give you results of the best known brands in this range. Great, so now I have 4 fridges. Problem number 1, I need to test these in an environment where I can control the ambient temperature. I can control, well, I need power. I need to get batteries, and not just any batteries. I need to get 4 of similar batteries, so the same amp hour batteries, preferably same type of battery, to test these fridges. So when we're running a test on the fridge that the other batteries are charging, they're all getting the same amp hour battery to run the tests on. I need an expert in this matter. I use 12 volt, I tour, we go to the farm when we're out in South Africa, it's all 12 volt, there's no electricity there. So I would say that I could get by in a conversation on 12 volt, but by no means whatsoever am I expert in this matter. So I need an expert. So location, as you can see, we found a location. Batteries, made a 1 phone call to our friends at Batmobile. How are you? Thank you. That was really quick. Eh? Fantastic. So we got 4 batteries. Yeah, 4 batteries. A whole bunch of batteries in here, but the guys from Batmobile are giving us 4 batteries to use for this test. So awesome. Thanks, guys. So, within 30 minutes, they delivered 400 amp hour batteries to us. So we're going to be able to run the test on a similar amp hour battery for each of these. Alrighty then, I have batteries. Now I need an expert. This is going to be the last bit of editing magic happening right now. There we go. Easy as that. Gareth Owen, very good friend of mine, going to be our expert for the show over here. So
big word.
Well,
expert.
Gareth, I think just give us a quick background, really, where your love of 12 volt and how you got into playing around with 12 volt and all kinds of accessories thereof.
Yeah, I'm a boat builder by trade.
Yeah.
So small, when I say small boats, up to about 40-50 feet.
Okay.
And they all run on 12 volts.
Yeah. And you're actually sailed from Dubai. Somewhere
pretty much
east.
Around the southeast Indian Ocean, from here to Thailand and back, basically.
And you were on the boat for how long?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
So you basically rely on 12 volt, other than wind, right?
Completely rely.
So,
I mean, when you talk about off-grid, there's nothing better than off-grid out there. Yeah. There's nowhere to plug into. So
exactly.
Solar, running on diesel engines and alternator powers, very similar to a car and an overland vehicle in a way. But yeah, just nowhere to actually plug in. So. And no fuel stations either.
No,
so
you can't just stop and say, "Hey, I've had enough. Top up the batteries."
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, but also doing all the work on the boats. I'm a boat builder by trade, so I fix people's boats. I had to do fridges and everything else, and all the power that leads to that. Well, so voltage drop being one of my biggest problems on a boat, because they're a bit longer than a car. So you have to watch what the cable sizes are.
This is true.
And we just sort of through the years, 20 odd years of doing this, just understood and learned a bit more about how it all works. But yeah, to call me an expert's a bit
compared to me, right? I can get by in the conversation.
I'll just be able to hold the conversation for a bit longer.
Let's call you the guru then. Our 12 volt guru for the show. But once again, I needed an additional set of eyes because running these tests. Now we did the first test, like we said in the description below, and we got a number of questions. So brought Gareth in and said, right, what do you think? How do we do it? And first of all, thank you for this lovely workshop, mate.
That's all right.
It's so much easier working
to put this together
in a controlled environment. Number one, so ambient temperature is the same. We can control it with aircon. So I think these tests, we shouldn't get too much backlash. I know what the guys from Mythbusters feel like now. It's crazy.
I mean, over the tests that we've done, we've had to find different ways of doing stuff. We've seen mistakes that we were going to make. We've had to go through those. So hopefully, with all of this, we've tried to mitigate any of the outside sources that would change anything going on. So.
And we've ran them a number of times.
Yeah, we have.
And we're still busy running one right now. Actually, I think there's another 10 minutes left on this one. So, right, can you explain to everybody out there what we're going to be doing? I think this is probably going to be about 5 episodes long, but what are the tests that we're going to run today?
Well, the first test is to see what these fridges are drawing. Your original test that you did, what we saw very clearly was, okay, all these fridges are running, but what power are they actually drawing? How fast does it get to cool your drink?
Yes.
But really, what power did they use to do that?
Yeah, and we had plugged them into AC power, so it wasn't even drawing from 12 volt in that test.
And we saw within your first test, one of the comments was, what is this on 12 volts? How do they operate on 12 volts?
Correct.
The second test as well is, how much do they cycle?
Yes.
How often? How long does it take to cycle?
Yeah, so explain, what does cycle mean then?
Well, cycling is how long does a compressor run for to get to the temperature that you've set it on the fridge.
Okay.
To then turn off and shut down.
Okay, so it goes into sleep mode. It's taking care of the insulation of the actual fridge, and only when it drops to a certain temperature, the compressor will kick in.
Yes.
All right. So
and
that's
that is really a function of the compressor itself. How fast does that compressor cool a fridge?
All right. So now we got power test. We're going to do cycling. What else are we going to be doing?
The 12-hour test.
All right.
So what we wanted to do is said, right, okay, this one, for example, does it cool in your first test cool the fastest?
Yes.
Right, let's have a look at over 12 hours and let's see what the consumption is over 12 hours.
Yes.
Let's see what the power draw is over 12 hours.
I suppose 12 hours you don't have your solar, or you don't have any external inputs during that 12 hours. So 6 o'clock sun goes down.
That was
until
one of the
6
tests that you brought up. This is me. I've shut my fridge down. I'm going to bed. It's approximate 12-hour sleeping because you do sleep a lot. But it's that nighttime cycle. It's 6 till 6 in the morning. If you're not opening your fridge and you shut it down, how much power would that draw?
Okay.
And again, that's quite an interesting test on its own.
Yeah.
And the fourth test was, again, the insulation on the fridge.
Okay, so again, getting back to that, that's the cycling. So when it cycles, it depends on the insulation will be how long it would recycle, or if you open the fridge.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are we going to test it?
Well, we're just going to run the fridge till a certain temperature, shut it down, then monitor the temperature over 2 hours, let's say, see what each fridge does over 2 hours, and see what the temperature raises, because there's no power going into it, the compressor will shut down, to see the function of the actual box that the fridge is.
True.
You can have the fastest compressor in the world and a thin, flimsy thing with no insulation,
and
nothing will work.
Yeah, but it's going to cycle more often, which means it's going to use more power.
Exactly. Again, that's why we're doing the cycle test.
Yes.
It's part of it. You're going to have the most incredibly insulated fridge.
Yeah.
And then turn it off. It's not going to lose any heat.
Yeah.
Or absorb any heat. So,
well. Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think all the fridges, we've taken all the covers off, so we're using them bare as they come out of this. You can go and get the covers for each of these, but we're going to try and keep it as simple as possible on this.
And like you say, in the controlled environment, we're trying to keep them all at the same temperature. So I mean, we haven't looked into much of the detail about the actual cover. Is plastic better than metal outside? I don't know. It's there's so many variables. We're going to be doing this for the next 6 months.
The data is insane. The data that we've captured so far is quite intense. So there's a lot of data, and I think we're only going to touch on a couple of things. So we've got one more test that we're going to do. We're going to do 5 tests, I think.
Yeah, the last test we wanted to do was let's fill the fridge up, or let's at the moment we've only done 1 bottle.
Yes.
So let's test the fridge with 12 bottles in there.
Yeah.
And let's see really what it takes, in
a real environment. So run out of water, stop, need to fill up with a case of water or whatever the case may be, and how long So we're going to run that, what, 12 hours, I suppose?
I think 12 hours, that's where we think it's going to fit, and that's how it should work. I mean, anything that's going to work on a fridge within 12 hours, it should be done.
It should be at the temperature, or it should reach, it should have cycled a couple of times.
Yeah, it should have cycled a couple of times, and we can compare that against the power draw of the other test that we did as well, which is just a 12-hour run with one bottle, to see what the power difference is, just to have a look at the idea and see what the relationship is.
Right, so we're going to do the 5 tests, probably going to run over 4 shows, and then the 5th show, I think you and I can spend some time and we can take all the findings, because when we're doing these 5 tests, we're actually gathering data from other data points as well. Yeah. And then I think we're going to close off the show with, number 1, what we suggest in different environments, which we think which fridge is better based on the results, or fridges are better for certain environments, and then what kind of power you would need. So what size battery you would need to run, what type of battery you would be running for the different environments of the test that we were running. So trying to get spit all the data out and then make some conclusion, and I think we're probably going to have quite a long chat with all the data that we've got in the last episode, giving you the final results of all the tests. So each of these episodes are going to go out, and they're going to be giving you different results with different fridges coming on top, or might not be performing that well, but
I think we should see some correlations of what's going on. We do know that some of the fridges have similar compressors and bits and pieces like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what the results are.
Good. So there's the introduction for the next 5 to 6 episodes, or 5 episodes. We're going to kick off with test number 1 right now.